Bob Iger says that streaming is the future of the Walt Disney Company and has spent over $100 billion to make that happen. It sounds like a ridiculous statement, but it's actually pretty easy to do that math. What has this gotten Disney and the Disney Plus name? Well, it's now considered a sixth place streaming service. And some of the big promises that Bob Iger has been selling Wall Street, well, they don't seem to be true. Let's talk about whether having big movies at the box office translate into big success on streaming. It doesn't. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. There was a theory posited out there that Disney having powerhouses at the box office was going to drive viewership on Disney Plus. Well, let's go to this one, also from Luminate, and I have the full chart, but I'm just going to go to these little snippets here and there as to not bore everybody. But this is the top 10 original and acquired films. So the other ones were just originals. Other than the one that has Bluey, because Bluey was not original to streaming here. Moana with almost 10 billion watch minutes on Disney Plus. That is the 2016 Moana here. I don't think Moana 2 is not on Disney Plus yet. Then the number 2 was Oppenheimer with almost 7 million watch minutes. Again, we're at a fraction of those figures. Again, Bluey in the billions range, and then Star Wars shows in the Percy Jackson in the 3 billion range. We're down into the watch minutes in billions here. So Moana 10 billion. The carryover from Moana from 2016 is better on Disney Plus than Percy Jackson. Then going down here, Trolls Band Together, the Super Mario movie, Carry On, the Equalizer, Minions, Cars, Inside Out 2, which, by the way, Inside Out 2, I am going to point this out. Inside Out 2 didn't drop on Disney Plus until the end of September. So 1/4 of a year. So, you know, if I'm giving them the fair shake here, if you multiplied that by 4, if Inside Out 2 was just as popular on Disney Plus in those 3 months, if that extended out for a full year, okay, that could be the biggest movie on Disney Plus. I don't think that's the case, but here we are. One more thing I want to add. You can see it there at the bottom of the list. Encanto with 4.45, 600 million there underneath Inside Out 2, also a movie that came out several years ago. 2 big omissions here. Deadpool and Wolverine, not on this list. Well, that's another one that it didn't come out until October on streaming. But there is something on here that makes everybody look bad. It's about that number 5 area. Carry On came out 2 weeks before the end of the year and outclassed everything else below it. By the way, Cars still going strong. Another John Lasseter film right there, number 8 on the spot with 4.5 billion watch minutes. So Carry On. Vash, do you know what that one's about?
I have heard the premise, and actually in Hollywood Backlit with Lou and you, we were actually looking at some behind the scenes footage, looking at some how the effects were actually produced. If I remember correctly, it's basically like I don't know, is it like Die Hard on a plane or something like that?
It might be. It does take place on a plane. It does have the star power of Taron Egerton. Nothing against that guy, but Star Wars. Marvel.
It's very true.
These are things that Disney would claim are the biggest IPs in the world, and they're getting beat by a movie that has no specific IP attached to it or anything like that. Carry On over here with 5 billion watch minutes, and Deadpool 3 didn't make the list. So,
well, you say claim, but we know that Disney's dedicating huge amounts of resources in order to capitalize on the success of these films. For example, Cars, right? We're getting a Cars themed area to replace Rivers of America in the most visited destination in the world, or at least one of them. Inside Out 2, right? We've heard rumblings of Inside Out 3, Moana 2, and we've heard rumblings of a continuation of that franchise, and also to a live action film in development. I like to look at these lists because it really does tell you where the company is going, because you know they're really looking at that Disney Plus data, harvesting it, and making decisions accordingly. Which I don't know, hasn't been a great strategy so far, but who am I to judge?
Right.
Well,
Well,
they've always taken pride in being a data-driven company, and so far they've shown that they can't analyze data at all.
Hmm.
So, I
well,
mean, that's
they either can analyze it or something else is going on.
they're ignoring it.
They're lying, maybe,
Eh, mm,
allegedly.
mm.
Um, we have to throw around that allegedly word when we start getting to statements that could be interpreted as accusing the Disney company of fraud here.
Oh,
Um,
we could. There's some areas we certainly could, but
Well,
okay.
I think that you can't, in good conscience, make the statement that Disney would like to make here is that okay? So I'll just read my tweet because that is where my analysis goes in this. Interesting. Inside Out 2, number 2 for 2024 ticket sales, but got beat on streaming by Moana, Super Mario, Minions, and Cars. I should have said 600 million there and 600K. No Deadpool 3 on the list. What distinction does Deadpool have this year? Sorry, last year it was the biggest film at the box office, was it not? Or was that
Yeah.
number 2? I forget which
Live
one.
Oh no,
action, I
he's
think
number
it was.
2. No, it was Inside Out 2. Inside
Okay,
Out
so
2.
Yeah.
I had that reversed. Okay,
Yeah.
see, inaccuracies in the tweet, but the spirit is correct here. Oh, that's
Yeah.
embarrassing. But looking at this, Inside Out 2, huge at the box office, not so huge on streaming. Deadpool does not make the list. I think that streamers can only pull down the box office at this point for these huge multi $100 billion films. It just brings them down, whereas it does not work in the other direction. I'm actually kind of shocked that Oppenheimer is as high on this list right here.
It's a good point. Perhaps, man, I don't know. Maybe the enthusiasm surround Christopher Nolan's next work had people going back to his previous. Not quite sure. Also, too, I think we had a re-release of Interstellar as well. Anyway, regardless, this is a really interesting chart. Super fascinating to look at this data right here and just kind of contemplate what the Disney company is doing. That's just I don't know. I don't know if I enjoy the strategy. I will give Disney credit though. They have been elongating their windowing practices. I think longer than a lot of their competitors in this space. So that's kind of a plus because I think the word did get out that if you release a film like say Moana 2 for example, 30 days after it's released in theaters, you're really hurting that box office take there. So on that front, I will give them credit. Everything else, not so much.
Right. And I will say, if you have a crowd pleaser like Sonic 3, I paid the $25 in order to be able to watch that on premium video on demand because my family is nuts for Sonic 3. They're very excited for Sonic 4 whenever that comes out. I hope Jim Carrey sticks around, but I'm not paying money to have Moana 2 early at my house. That's just not something the Campbells will be investing money in because I feel like you could just put the scenes in the first Moana in a different order and it would be better than Moana 2. That movie did not impress me in any way.
I just want to say that there's actually a case in point for studios undercutting or undermining their box office earnings when they are so driven to put their latest releases up on their own streaming platforms. If you look at Focus Features and the fact that after just a few weeks they put Nosferatu, which was very successful in theaters, onto digital or made it available digitally in places, it immediately push down the box office. This is a practice for Focus Features that I think they need to review. But when you look at when that happens in these particular instances, it does pull the box office numbers down. And I don't think it really does much since you can't quantify the value of a new release film being released on streaming, other than it destroys your box office. I think the only thing that you can realize from this is they need to have a little bit more restraint before digitally releasing something that's going to be out in theaters. There's no other way to look at it because I mean, what are you doing? You're possibly reducing churn on a X dollar a month streaming service by being able to
Well,
release a
yeah, let there is one more chart that I want to put up here that may
okay.
speak to some of that here.
All right.
And I want the audience because again, I don't want to go over and over again to my tweets, my tweets, my tweets. Hey, let's look at my tweets. But
Hmm.
I'm telling you, this is where the chart is. Put in your mind where you think the number one streaming service is, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's Netflix. And then put in your mind, go all the way down to number 4 in what you think these are ranked, whether it's Max, whether it is Peacock, Hulu, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Apple TV. Put in your mind a ranking. Oh, by the way, Amazon, just can't forget that one. It's just $1 trillion company here. Put in your mind, rank them all really quickly. And then I want to show you a chart of where these things actually fall here. First of all, Netflix is almost 64% of the market, which is like mind-boggling here, considering how much people view content on streaming right now. And it may be difficult to interpret on the left-hand side of the screen which ones are the top ranks. So I'm just gonna point this out right here. Here, we'll move it over to the right hand here. Netflix 63.5, Amazon 8.5%, and Amazon's strategy of doing their streaming as an also ran, except they probably lost $1 billion with Rings of Power. Paramount Plus, a studio that is being courted by, again, the Paramount drama continues as someone has come in with a $13.5 billion bid in order to buy Paramount. That one is number 3 because a single episode of Landman from Taylor Sheridan outclasses an entire series of Star Wars right now. That one, by the way, that $13.5 billion, there's some possibility that it might be Elon Musk who is funding that bid, which you can read about that on That Park Place. I'm not going to speculate beyond that moment right there. You can see the evidence there. Apple TV Plus, which this is me being an armchair sociologist here. I never viewed Apple TV Plus as a success, and I assumed that it was not that big on the streaming list. Apparently, it's beating Disney Plus by almost a full percentage point here. So I'm shocked.
And that's incredible. The best that Disney can muster by the way, betting the entire company on streaming. I mean, they poured in hundreds of billions of dollars into this streaming venture right here. The best they can muster, if you combine Hulu and Disney Plus, they're second on the list, and a long second at that. I mean, they have no chance in catching up with Netflix. And well, the entire company has taken a huge hit because of some of these investments that have taken up so much capital and so much revenue. If you're wondering why the parks are floundering, this is why. And we're not even good enough for if you separate them out, 4th place, terrible.
Yep. And this is, of course, why they're buying Hulu, because they would rather buy a functioning streaming service and slap their name on top of it than actually do the work of producing content that people want to watch. I would like to see an elimination on Disney's current proxy statements, which we're not going to get into the proxy statements. Well, we're going to get into one aspect of the proxy statements here in just a minute. But of course, it's the analysis by Marvin Montanaro. If you take out all of the things that had nothing to do with Disney actually making it, I would like to see how many of those awards that don't make them any money that they're trying to tout as success for the company. I would like to see how much of Avatar, which they have no say in how that gets made, gets factored into their revenue. This is a thoroughly unimpressive company to me at this point, and it might be the most overrated entertainment company out there, which would explain why it's $200 billion. Netflix, however, right now, I think right now Netflix might be double that with just a streaming service, just the one. And here we are.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.